What's up, college football fans, Clemson Tiger fans? Welcome back to the Voice of College Football Clemson channel, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Clemson Tigers pregame show. I'm your host, Tiger Paul Craven. I will be joined momentarily by my co-host, Smitty. Our buddy Dandre could not make it today, but the show must go on. So without further ado, I'll bring on my co-host, Smitty. Hey, man, how you doing today?
How's it going?
Just another fine Friday afternoon. Work is over. It's been a busy week, but we have a full slate of college football coming this weekend, so it's always a good time.
Let me adjust my camera. Looks like I'm a little low.
All right. So as you know, Smitty, it is Furman week. But before we get into Furman, I wanted to talk about a couple things, not necessarily about Clemson football on the field, but about Clemson football off the field. So I'm sure you, as a diehard Clemson fan, heard about the Dabo Swinney news yesterday that broke the 10-year, $115 million contract, which exploded on the internet, exploded on YouTube, not because of the years, not because of the money, but because of the Alabama language and things of that such. What are your thoughts on the new Dabo Swinney contract?
I think well-deserved for sure.
Absolutely.
Alabama language is Alabama language. Does
it matter? Does it not matter?
It matters.
Why do you think they put it in there?
So I don't think it matters, but I feel like it's there because they hear it. They hear it on ESPN. They read it on message boards. Somebody has a hot take, and that's just it's something that, as a business person or an athletic director, that regardless of how true it is, it's definitely something you want to protect yourself from. So it's neither here nor there,
Right.
Dabo no one trusted him in the beginning, yet he earned that trust. And he hasn't let us down yet. I mean, our down year is a 10-win season. Like, who can complain about it?
Right. How many college football teams out there would die for a down year to be a 10-3 win season, regardless of how much people want to say the offense was terrible last year, which it was. I mean, let's be honest. But a 10-3 down year, there's 120 college football teams out there that would die for that kind of down season.
Absolutely. And then, the great thing about Dabo is that he's building something that's going to last far beyond his time here, whether it's a year or 10 years. A lot of people complain about, the Brandon Streeter hire or the Goodwin defensive coordinator hire or whatever, but he's building a team from within while using outside sources when need be, hiring Coach Venables, Coach Morris when he was there. But he's having the people that's going to be there for 10, 20 years learn and create something of their own from the things that they learn. And that's what we're seeing now. Now is the beginning of that. And it's exciting.
Yeah, it is an exciting time to be a Tiger. I will say I was happy to see Dabo get locked up for this new contract. I think it's well-deserved. He has proven himself, like you say, time and time again. And regardless of what some Clemson fans think, at the end of the day, it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? Everybody else is redoing contracts. Nick Saban gets a new contract. That means Clemson's got to redo Dabo Swinney's contract. It's just the day and age we live in college football. You got name, image, and likeness. I know you sent me a link earlier with the players' jerseys that you now can get, but only the players that have name, image, and likeness deals.
Well, with Nike.
With Nike, right?
Right.
So it's just one of those things, man. This is the day and age in college football that we live in. That's the going price for an elite college football coach, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't want Dabo Sweeney to go anywhere. So if we got to pay him 115 million, by all means, 11.5 million a year, it's well worth it.
I mean, on average, he donates half of what he makes anyway. So
right. So so keeping with the thread of college football, where it's going, keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know if you've been paying attention in the offseason, but Clemson's been doing some upgrades in the old Death Valley, the real Death Valley, not that one down there, not that trash can down in Louisiana, but the real Death Valley up in Clemson, South Carolina. We've been doing some upgrades.
I got to see it in person.
What's that?
I got to see it in person. I can't.
You got to see it in person?
I don't like the pictures, personally. I see it in pictures.
Oh, okay. So you're not exactly excited about the upgrades that Clemson's made in the offseason. Is that
okay? Well, I like the lights, the orange and purple lights on the stadium. That's really cool. But particularly me is the jumbotron. But I'm also I've been going to watch Clemson football since I think my first game was 1992. I was 7 years old. Like I'm very traditional. I love everything old and new about Clemson, but I don't know, that jumbotron is. I understand why, but I don't like it. I mean, it probably looks better in person.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love that they put the old Tiger from the old scoreboard back on top of the new scoreboard. So keeping with that, kind of what you're talking about, the traditions of Clemson and Death Valley and some of that stuff. But you got to move up with college football. It's an ever-changing environment. I know this week, they said we got a new scoreboard. The banners across the bowl, those are all new LEDs. The ones on the West Zone, the two big TV screens on the West Zone are all new LEDs as well. Those are new, upgraded pixels, the highest resolution you could possibly get, all that good stuff. I know they got a new sound system, a new light show, which I know is the latest and greatest of college football. I'm not exactly excited about the light show because I feel like we're just playing on other programs that did it before. But maybe it'll be cool to see. We won't see it this weekend because it's a 3:30 game. But maybe next weekend for an 8 o'clock game, we'll see the new Clemson light show.
I mean, right? It honestly feels like Louisiana Tech's an 8 o'clock just for that reason.
I know, right? To try out the new light show, right? Like when else would you play Law Tech at 8 o'clock? Like what are we doing, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to get in there for a game this year. We'll see when it is.
Absolutely.
It ends.
I can't wait to see a game in Clemson this year. We're going, by the way. Some game this year we will be in Death Valley for a game. Absolutely. Preferably a night game. Preferably a big game where it's nice and loud. That's what I would prefer. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure out the details. But getting into the matchup this weekend, I know, huge matchup, right? Everybody's talking about it. Clemson and Furman, right? Not really, okay? Not a lot of juice in this game. Not a lot of anticipation in this game.
Not nation, but for the Clemson fan base, I think there's a lot to look forward to in this game. A lot to hope happens. Seeing that step forward, maybe. Because you can always forgive week one. I mean, who knows? Week one, you never know. Like, for example, Georgia Tech, I feel like after watching more highlights and digesting more of the game, like it feels like that Georgia Tech defense came like way better than advertised.
Right.
Yeah.
So
This Georgia Tech team might be able to give the Virginias and the Miamis a fight this year solely based on their defense.
right, and not getting too far into the Georgia Tech stuff from last week because we talked about it, and it's been talked about on YouTube and all the sports shows ad nauseum. But I think you have somewhat of a point there that I mean, if you take the last two seasons, Georgia Tech's defense has troubled Clemson, and maybe that's something they figured out. I don't know. Maybe that's a scheme thing that they're doing. I don't think it's all Clemson's offense. I do think you have to give Georgia Tech some credit for what they've done on defense. You can't completely dismiss it as, oh, Clemson's got a terrible offense, so we'll just dismiss that game. I don't think that's the case. I don't get too far into the Georgia Tech stuff, but I do think you have to give them some credit for what they've done on defense against Clemson, not only this year but last year as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So for this game, I think mostly I'm really excited about seeing the depth of the defense. That's what I'm excited about. I want to see the last year's, Barrett Carters and Trenton Simpsons come out and get some experience and show what they got, and maybe even earn some playing time throughout the year, solely based off of these next two games.
Right.
Guys who might possibly have been redshirted.
Absolutely.
Excited about that. I'm nervous about the offense. I want to see them come out quickly. I want to see them come out decisively. The biggest issue for me, I think, has to be timing. That was the difference between DJ running the offense and Cade Klubnik running the offense. To me, it looked like Cade has had his timing down, and DJ doesn't know what the timing is. That's what it felt like, and hopefully we can see an improvement off of the Georgia Tech game, to where while we want to see Cade Klubnik play, everybody's not screaming for him to start.
Right, and that's something that you don't want to see on a team that hopes to win the ACC and maybe make a playoff run, right? You don't want a quarterback controversy, but like you say, it's kind of hard to look at last game, albeit Cade only had one drive. We get it. He was 4 for 6. It was one drive. It was a drop in a bucket. The game was over. We get all of that. But the problem is that the offense looked so much smoother when he was in. He looked in control. He looked comfortable. He was very accurate. In the first half, DJ was not that. In the second half, DJ hit some plays. He did. But at the same time, we'll see how that goes. But I don't want a quarterback controversy coming over Clemson for the entire season. I think if there is one, we need to figure it out pretty quick as we get back into – we got 2 games here, right? We got Furman and we have La Tech, and then we're back in the ACC play, so it needs to be figured out by then.
Preferably, but absolutely by the end of that Wake Forest game. Because you don't want to walk into NC State not knowing who your quarterback's going to be. It's not going to benefit you at all.
Definitely not. And I think a lot of people are down on NC State right now because of that week 1 showing. But that's not necessarily who they are. Maybe they overlooked that game. I don't know what the case is, but a lot of people are high on NC State, and now a lot of people are selling that NC State stock that they bought in the offseason. So,
yeah, I'm a very firm believer. Never count your chickens on week 1.
That's right. Yeah, week 1 can be really deceiving when it comes to teams. What I will say is Jordan Bowman got in on the comments here, and he said it looks great in person, talking about the scoreboard. So I'm just saying, maybe it looks better than you think it does.
It might. It definitely might.
And then John gets in and says the old Tiger looks like a speck on top of the new board. I could see that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
like
I
he's
can
not
see
even
that.
there.
But
there.
it's a nice little touch from the from from the past. The old scoreboard, right? No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love the old scoreboard.
I know you do. All
Um,
right. What you got? Go ahead.
So I think starting the offense, I think there's definitely timing needs to be the key. Timing and efficiency. Outside of a drop, I don't want to see any mistakes by DJ. I feel like he needs to be nearly flawless on his side and what he can do. I think a lot of that's going to come with his decision making, and like if he can't think fast enough to make the right decision against Furman, he's not going to do it against the Wake Forest and the NC States and the teams that we're going to have to face in the college football playoff. If that is what the goal is this year. And last I checked, that's the goal every year.
Hey, this is Clemson football, and that is absolutely the goal every year. The goal every year is to win the ACC, and then to compete for a college football national championship. I don't care what anybody says. I know Dabo talks about kind of the fan base being spoiled and that kind of stuff, and I get that. There is some of that in the Clemson fan base, especially the new fans. But us that have been here for a while, us that have grown up Clemson fans from day one, know what it was like before, and we don't want to go back to that. So I think that's where a lot of the criticism comes from. And with the offense for Furman, what I'm looking for a dominant run game. It's gonna. I don't know if you've looked at the forecast, but apparently the forecast looks kind of rainy for Saturday. So I'm thinking of not so much of, putting the ball in the air. I'm looking for the offensive line to be as improved as advertised in the offseason, right? We heard all the coaches talking about the offensive line. We heard about our freshman right tackle who's picked up the offense really well. He's performed well. He's got all the size in the world. Last week, not the greatest showing, right? However, I look for the offensive line to take a step forward this week. I know it's Furman. I don't care that it's Furman. I want to see the offensive line manhandle a defense and really get the running game going. We have a three-headed monster in the backfield, and I really want to see that offensive line assert their dominance. Albeit on a lesser team, I don't really care. I want to see that offensive line really perform.
Absolutely. That's why we pay them. Help us build that.
Yeah, and we got 2 games in a row that are kind of, I know all the coaches, all college football. They talk about how the NFL has all these preseason games. College don't get any preseason games. They get 2 scrimmages, all this kind of stuff. This is basically your 2 scrimmages. As much as the coaches want to say that, hey, you respect every team you have to go out there and give it your all. This is Clemson's dress rehearsal for the rest of the season. These 2 games, we need our offense to go in and make the momentum need be to complete the rest of the season. We need our running game to be dominant, and like you, I need to see DJ make some plays. I need to see him make reads. I need to see him make decisions quickly, and if not, he could be in jeopardy of, Cade Klubnik waiting in the wings, because that drive looked pretty great. And there's always going to be that fan base, that portion of the fan base out there that's like Cade Klubnik, the newest and the latest and the greatest, right? But it did look good. And if DJ stumbles early in these games and Cade comes in and performs flawlessly or performs well, the grumblings are just going to get louder, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that'd be sad for DJ, but at the end of the day, we're here to win.
No, we're here to win, and I think. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I think another key for the offense is learning how to use that middle of the field.
Yes, we've said it so many times.
I mean, I understand these days not wanting to send one of your receivers across the middle, but there's some big boy tight ends on that sideline just itching to catch some balls. So,
I mean, you're telling me real quick from last week, the Georgia Tech game. You saw what Antonio Williams did, right?
he's a killer.
You're telling me that dude across the middle against linebackers can't, like, I mean, come on. Like, really? I mean, that's big play after big play after big play in my mind. We got these big tight ends, Davis Allen. I mean, we can't attack the middle of the field at all.
I mean, the middle of the field's going to open up the routes on the outside.
Right.
So, if the middle of the I feel like if the middle of the field was used last week effectively, then those over-the-shoulder touchdown throws to E.J. Williams and Bo Collins probably would have both been caught.
Right.
The outside corners would have been a little more hesitant to cover so closely when they're worried about the middle of the field,
Mm-hmm.
So
another thing I want to see from the – what was that? I'm sorry.
I definitely feel like the middle of the field is the key to opening up the offense.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I want to see from the offense this week is consistency from the receiver position, right? Last year, there were a lot of drops. In game one, there were quite a few drops, right? Like not every incompletion TJ threw was his fault. There were some balls that were right on the money that receivers dropped, and I want to see some consistency from the receivers. And Ngata's got to get it done, man. Like it's now or never for him. This is his season, and I think if he doesn't get it done this year, then he's just not going to, at least in a Clemson uniform. So I think Ngata's got to get it done. I look for Bo Collins to be big. We got Antonio Williams, Adam Randall. Whenever he gets back, what's that?
That Ngata was supposed to be the next big Mike.
He was supposed to be, but we've yet to see any of that kind of ball skill experience, right? That over the top, going to get every pass, just throw it up and Mike Williams catches it, right? We haven't seen that from Ngata. I know he's capable of it, but at the end of the day, he hasn't produced on that level. So I hope he gets more opportunity in the Furman game and maybe gets some momentum rolling into the rest of the season.
I think a lot of it hinges on confidence.
I think confidence is key.
Even at 10-3, I think last year kind of hit him a different way, with the expectations that it was in the beginning of the year. So
right,
building that confidence these next couple of weeks is definitely going to be a big factor on how the rest of the season goes.
Yeah, I definitely think confidence is key, especially with the offense. I don't care what they say. Their confidence was completely shook last season. I was a little disappointed in week one because we built up so much momentum in the running game with the last run that we went on last season. So I was hopeful with the new additions and how much the offensive line was talked about that the running game would be a little more dominant. But it wasn't. But like I said, I look forward to getting back to that these next 2 weeks and really establishing the run. And then, like you said, attacking the middle of the field, letting that open up our outside receivers, and then maybe we can hit some plays downfield. But I think ultimately it starts the offensive line. We still have question marks. I mean, let's be honest. It's not great, but I think it's a functional line that we can win behind.
Absolutely, it's just gonna take a little time and working together. I mean, the left tackle, I mean, he's elite, but outside of that, like the freshman right tackle was a complete nightmare on against Georgia Tech, and hopefully, like confidence again. Like he knows what he's doing, or he wouldn't be starting. He just needs to build that confidence and move those feet, big boy. Move those feet.
Right. I don't know if you watched his interview this week, but it was encouraging to me. I think he knows what he needs to work on. I think watching him in the interview, he's got a level head. He seems to have the right attitude. So I don't know if you watched his interview, but he seems to have the right attitude to improve over the season.
Yeah, I've watched a few of those.
All right, so you want to transfer to the defensive side of the ball for Clemson?
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to see more of last week. Agent Zero and Trenton Simpson just going out there and
Jeremiah Trotter, Trenton Simpson, Barrett Carter, KJ Henry had a killer day against Georgia Tech. Miles Murphy got double teamed a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll see if anybody else even gets to play if the defensive line doesn't just shut everything down.
Right.
I mean, Furman's not known for its football team, so.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to say going into the defensive side of the ball, right?
Well, that defensive, I mean, they might not even get to play ball.
That's so our front seven is absolutely elite, in my opinion. KJ Henry, Brian Brzee, Miles Murphy, Ruka Rororo, Jeremiah Trotter, Barrett Carter, Trenton Simpson. Like, our front seven is absolutely elite. Where I saw some weakness last week was in our secondary, right? Is Furman willing, or is Furman capable of exposing that? Probably not. I think I look for our defensive line to get a ton of pressure this week. I look for our linebackers. I mean, did you see? We probably talked about it, but that play that Trenton Simpson made from behind, basically at the line of scrimmage on that screenplay. Like, I mean, you see speed like that, and you're like, wow.
It gave me flashbacks of Isaiah Simmons.
So. Right.
Yeah.
So with that, do you think as the season goes on, they'll use him a little more like they used Isaiah Simmons in the pass rush?
I mean, it's possible. But I think it seems like they like him doing what he's doing.
Right. Okay.
The defensive line doesn't really need help.
No, I don't think they do either. I'm just,
So outside of a third down, throw everybody down there, rush the QB, hopefully get an interception. I don't see.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like they're just, they want him on the ball.
Yeah. So you think outside of a all-out blitz on third down, we don't see him rushing the passer very much?
No, he'll be on both sides of the field though, all day, sideline to sideline.
Jordan Bowman gets into the chat. He makes an interesting point. When XT gets back, he's going to be a problem as well. I agree. It was unfortunate to hear about XT's injury and his foot surgery. I hope he makes a speedy recovery. I can't wait to see him back. I was glad this offseason when he decided to come back. I can't wait to see how he closes out like the second half of the season. I hope he has a monster second half of the season.
Yeah, we've definitely seen spurts of his, his abilities. It hasn't been really consistent, and I'm hoping when he comes back, we get everything he's got. As for the corners, though, yeah, they're very young. Safeties too. I think the most experienced may even be Tyler Venables. We'll see. Makuba is definitely the anchor.
Right. Makuba with that first play last game, interception. Can't beat that, right?
But I think with the corners, Sheridan Jones definitely has a lot of experience. So he started 11 games at Clemson, so he's not the youngest out there. But I think it's just time's only going to tell. I mean, can't have it all. You can't have a great front seven and,
Typically, right?
great back end on
Typically, you're going to have some sort of weakness
Or-
on your defense. So, with that said, talking about how elite our defense is, especially our front seven, I look for them to play early. I think they will get a ton of pressure. I hope they get a ton of sacks because, I mean, who doesn't like seeing sacks on Saturdays? But I don't think the starters play very long on Saturday. What do you think?
I'd say, yeah, I'd give.
I guess that depends on the offense, right?
A little, but at the same time, I think first team defense probably won't come off the sideline after halftime.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you think
Almost
we see them?
regardless.
You think we
Almost
see them in the
regardless.
second half?
Almost regardless of the score.
Okay. All
The
right.
defense
Yeah.
is so deep. I mean, and I'm not talking like I wouldn't say everybody from the first team defense, but definitely Brissy, Miles Murphy, they're all going to take a breather. Trenton Simpson, they're
Right.
just after halftime, those guys are going to get a breather. The young corners will probably play a lot longer, but all in all, you'll definitely see the second team out there by halftime, if not sooner.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think we see first team defense after halftime either. With that said, first team offense. How long do you think we see the first team offense? And what do you think that transition looks like?
I think as long as it takes to get it right, I think
Yeah.
for sure. But I don't see him playing past halftime either, honestly. Outside of unless coach makes him go play or drive to drive, comparing quarterbacks, I don't really see them playing past halftime either.
Yeah, no, I think the same thing. I don't know how long the first team offense thinks or plays, excuse me. But I like what you said. As long as it takes to get the job done, as long as it takes to establish that rhythm. And I think that's what's important going into these next two games, especially this weekend after the offense in the first half kind of sputtered against Georgia Tech. I think it's important to establish that confidence within the offense and to get them really rolling. Like I would like for them to come out first drive, touchdown, second drive, touchdown, and really move the ball. Even if a couple of those are end in field goals, I would like to see them consistently move the ball and then maybe pull them out and maybe get some other guys some time playing. DJ right now is the starter. That's a fact. That's what the Clemson coaching staff has said. How long is he the starter? I think depends on the next 2 weeks. What do you think?
It's hard to tell. We could have a Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence situation all over again, but at the same time,
We could.
Dabo is loyal to a fault sometimes. So I feel like while DJ might not make the strides that we expect him to make, if he's improving consistently, I don't think he's going to get pulled.
Okay. I agree with that. But looking back at week one, I'm sure you've rewatched the game much like I have. Do you think there was enough improvement from last year to this year in order to do that? Dabo's capable of making the move. He's done it before.
Yeah.
That's what everybody in the media is saying right now.
I
Everybody in the media is saying like, oh, he's done it before. There's a precedence for it. And there is. But at the same time, do you think DJ has done enough to this point
to keep the job? I think so. The first half wasn't great, but that second half, if it wasn't for those drop passes, I mean, we're talking about a totally different stat line for him.
Right. And here's what I'll say about the first half as well.
I mean, DJ
I
had
don't,
the passes.
I don't think the play calling was very good in the first half.
No.
Right? I mean,
it definitely felt like they had him handcuffed.
right. It felt like Clemson was trying to do the least in order to hopefully out-talent Georgia Tech and then to go into their other two games. And then, didn't it kind of feel something like that? Like they were trying to not show too much. Like they were trying to not put on display what a whole offense would look like.
I think, I just think.
And I realized like the first couple drives, we had the snap that was not a good snap. DJ should have secured it, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a good snap. Then we had the fumble. So that was the first two drives of the game. So I think that kind of bogged down the offense as well, right?
Well, that and like you said, it just felt like maybe handcuffs not the right word, but like the playbook definitely wasn't open.
Right.
If the playbook wasn't open, it's either the playbook wasn't open or DJ wasn't making the reads he needed to. Like it's really hard to tell. But at the same time, there were times when the camera turned the right way. They'll show you the receivers on the play. There's a lot of times the receivers aren't getting separation. So like there's multiple factors that comes along with it in that first half, and it wasn't a good start. And
right.
It's like they came out of halftime ready to play.
Yeah,
and
it wasn't a
need to carry that everything that happened from halftime on, and need to carry that into Force and then into Furman and build on it.
Yeah, I think flush the first half. What happened. There was mistakes by multiple people. There were drops by multiple receivers.
Call it week one.
What's that?
Week one amnesia.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of Clemson fans out there that got like PTSD from last year, and they saw that first half Clemson offense, and they were like,
"Here we
go again, dude. Here we go again. Another year of this winning, freaking 14-8 again, right?" Right. So I think there was some of that in the initial reaction by myself as well. But I think we can build, like you said, on the second half. And what I want to see is some rhythm being set. And what I don't want to see, and I can tell you this definitively, if DJ is the quarterback, I don't want to see that many called quarterback runs. The man runs in slow motion. It is what it is. Look, every player is gifted in his own way. He is not gifted as somebody that can run the football. Is he big? Yes. But that doesn't mean you can run the football. I mean, when the guy is stumbling down the field 10 yards, even when he gains good yardage, it looks like he's in slow motion. So I don't want to see consistent quarterback runs. Give the ball to Shipley, give the ball to Maffa, give the ball to Pace. If we're going to run the ball, put it in the hands of the dudes that know what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you want to mix it up, and maybe the quarterback's the way to do that. But I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's slow motion, but he's definitely slow.
Bro, it's slow motion. I don't care. But I hear you.
I don't have anything to say on that. I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying. Not a fan of him running. Outside of maybe a quarterback sneak where his, big frame is going to give you the 1.5, 2 yards you need by just laying over the offensive line.
Yeah. So
he's not a dual threat.
Right. He's not a dual threat. And
as much as they want him to be, he's not a dual threat. And
I'm glad you said that, because I feel like the Clemson offense is designed behind a dual threat quarterback. Am I right? Do you feel that way or no?
No. I think a dual threat quarterback can thrive in the Clemson offense, but I don't think it was built around one.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure for the most part, they're running the same offense since Chad Morris. I mean, I feel like it's just
they are. It's at least a variant of it, right?
It's a variant, yes. It's been molded by the next person,
right?
On and on, and Taj Boyd was one of the first great quarterbacks in that, and even Taj Boyd himself was not a dual threat. As much as he wanted to be, he himself was also super slow, almost Dante Culpepper-like, you know. And
yeah, okay.
But he was as mediocre as he was. I mean, his receivers made him the great Clemson quarterback that he was.
That's harsh, but I agree.
You couldn't have asked for a better backs than the backs that Taj Boyd had.
Yeah, no, Taj Boyd had some amazing players around him.
Taj Boyd, for a minute, was in the running for the Heisman solely. So I mean, maybe it's a little harsh, but it felt, you know, those backs carried him.
Yeah.
Nuke Hopkins and all those guys.
Yeah, Nuke Hopkins, Sammy Watkins. I mean, you imagine that if those two as a duo, CJ Spiller in the backfield, James Davis right beside him. I mean, yeah, you're right. It was okay. All right. Maybe you're right. Okay. I'll go with you on that.
Yeah, so like I say that to say I don't see DJ becoming great unless he gets the help that he needs from those receivers and those backs.
I don't either.
Shipley is an amazing specimen that is going to be wasted with 10 touches a game. At 10 touches a game, like, why am I wasting my time is what I would feel like. Like, he's not a diva, thankfully, but, like, if that was T.O.
Yeah, we all know what it would be. With that said, what I don't want to see is Clemson waste another great defense like they did last year. We need to get it figured out, and it starts this week. Like I said, establish the running game, get DJ in rhythm, get him throwing the ball across the middle, preferably. Brandon Streeter, please, if we can, attack the middle of the field maybe, like once in a while. I don't know, 5 or 6 times a game.
I feel like Antonio Williams can be that Sammy Watkins, given the opportunity. I mean,
I think he can.
The talent is there. It just needs to be used properly.
Right.
And granted, it does look easier on the outside looking in, but come on.
Of course it is. I mean, armchair quarterback is the easiest position to play in football, right?
I'm pretty good at it.
I'm pretty good at it too. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of Clemson going into this weekend, right? 3:30 Saturday in Death Valley, a revamped and remodeled Death Valley. Any last thoughts on the game?
I want to see. I'm excited to see if special teams can build on what they started last week.
One thing before you finish that. Sorry.
Fresh air.
Before you finish that, sorry. How soon do we see Adam Randall? And do you think he could be the difference maker that they've talked about in spring and in fall camp?
I mean, I feel like they're thinking about redshirting him, honestly.
You think so?
Probably.
Okay, so maybe we don't see Adam Randall. Sorry for an interruption. Go ahead with your thought. My bad.
Well, no, I was just my last thoughts on the game were about special teams, the unsung heroes.
Pretty good last week, right?
I mean, it was a breath of fresh air for sure. I mean, as a Clemson fan,
we haven't been too good lately, right? Historically,
but even the years. I mean, all I'm going to say is the years that we've had some miraculous plays like blocked kicks or punts. Special teams wasn't necessarily good that year. That just so happened to be a good play. But
right.
The fact that there were 2 in this game gives me hope that, you know, special teams is going to be a bright spot. Will Taylor running the ball on the punts, probably going to – maybe we'll see maybe a run back. I don't know. I don't remember the last time we got a kick return.
I don't either,
CJ
honestly.
Spiller.
Maybe CJ Spiller. Has it been that long?
I mean, it feels like it. I could be wrong.
Maybe the comment section can help us. Has Clemson had a punt return for touchdown since CJ Spiller? Maybe Jordan Bowman knows in the comment section. He's pretty good on the Clemson stats. Maybe he can tell us. Yeah, my last thoughts on the game. Defensively, I want to see a dominant performance by the defensive line.
McLeod, yeah.
Yeah.
If there was
dominant performance by the defensive line. Lots of pressure on the quarterback, disruptiveness in the Furman backfield. And then I want to see a lot of our depth play. I want to see a lot of our depth get experience as the game goes on. Moving to the offensive side of the ball, like I stated earlier, I want to see the run game get established. I want to see the big uglies up front move Furman out of the way and get as many yards on the ground that we want to. With that said, the reason that I think we're going to go that way is because of the weather heading into the game. Doesn't seem to be going to be a really clear day. It's going to be rainy probably. How rainy it's going to be, who knows? It's upstate South Carolina. Wait an hour, the weather will change, right? Much like Charleston. But
canceled.
What's that?
The youth games here for tomorrow are getting canceled because of the weather.
Yeah. See, so I want to see a dominant performance by the offensive line. I want to see a lot of rushing yards, but I want to see DJ get into a rhythm. I want to see him make mistake-free football. I want to see him make quick reads, maybe outside of the pocket, wherever the case may be. I don't want him sitting back in the pocket, holding on to the ball and taking sacks because he has no clue where to go with the ball. We saw that again last week. If you have to move the pocket, move it. I want to see him making quick decisions and just gain momentum for the offense. And then, what's that?
I think the most frustrating part about that really is that we're not used to it.
Yeah.
Even Kelly Bryant and the bad games he had, he didn't just sit there and hold the ball. It's just not something we're used to, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this point if it's going to be like a part of his game that you can coach it out of him, and that's the part that worries me a little with DJ, because it seems like so much of he'd much rather take a sack than throw the ball away. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I keep going back to as a Clemson fan, and I'm not trying to be like we need to start Cade tomorrow, but I need to see both of those two quarterbacks play for the next two games. And I think if they play both of them a significant amount of time, I think we'll know. I think we'll know who the starting quarterback's supposed to be. Personally, I don't think it's DJ. But I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. He's a good guy. He seems like a good kid with a good head on his shoulders. He seems humble. He seems to want to perform. But I just don't think that he's the answer for Clemson football. That's just my personal opinion. And, yeah.
Let's go Tigers.
Let's go Tigers. Beat the Furman Paladins. What's your score prediction, by the way, Smitty? What if you had to put a score on it? What's your score prediction? Okay, first of all, before you go for a full score prediction, will Furman score a touchdown on our starting defense? Not on our defense as a whole,
Furman,
but our starting defense.
period.
What?
I don't think they're scoring a touchdown, period.
Okay. I like to hear it.
Yeah, 54. I'm thinking 54-0.
54-0.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go 48. I'm going to go 48-3. I'll go 48-3. Jordan Bowman's going 45-3. Anybody else got any predictions in the chat for the final score of the?
I feel like with Coach leaving last year, the defense has a lot, like not a lot to prove, but more of like a chip on their shoulder. Like we can be the same, we can be who we were with him not here.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be a few shutouts even in ACC play.
Like they're trying to prove everybody wrong. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And with the speed of our linebackers, I mean, Boomer gets in, says I'll go with Clemson 55-7. Okay. So he's given Furman a touchdown. I don't know if that's on the first, second, third, or walk-on defense, but he's giving Furman a touchdown.
Well, Furman's first team will probably be on the whole game. So.
Probably, but our walk-on defense still shouldn't allow a touchdown. I don't care. Look, the coaches can do all the coach speak they want for games like this. It's not even close. The talent level alone should be a blowout. And if it's not, then Clemson is not who we thought we were, and it's going to be a long season for both me and you. You know?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm definitely going to go ahead and go on record and saying that this game's going to be the game where Cade Covenant gets enough time to play that the conversation's not going to die. It's just going to get worse.
I believe so as well. I believe Cade gets 2 quarters at least to strengthen his case, which he didn't do anything to hurt his case last week. Granted, it being one drive in quote-unquote garbage time where it didn't matter. It did look smooth. He was super accurate, even on the run. So I agree with you. I don't think the conversation's going to die this week, and probably not next week either. So if we get into trouble down the road, and DJ's not playing well, we all know what a lot of the fan base is going to be thinking, right?
Yeah.
John gets into the chat, says 54-6. So he's given Furman 2 field goals. Good for them.
Or maybe they missed the field goal.
Yeah, or maybe they miss an extra point, right? Isn't that how North Carolina State won? Those garbage people over at North Carolina State, Dave Doran. I hate North Carolina State. I don't know about you. I can't stand them. But regardless, I think that wraps up our second Clemson pregame show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. Thank you guys for showing up to another episode. I'm Tiger Paul Craven, my co-host Smitty over here. We will be back live after the 3:30 Clemson game this Saturday, okay, with live post-game reaction to what happens in the game versus Furman, whether that be good, bad, or indifferent. You guys come join us for that. We would greatly appreciate it. Jordan Bowman, if you want to come on for that, by all means, come on. But we will see you guys tomorrow afternoon after the Clemson game for more Clemson talk. Thank you guys again for showing up. We'll see you guys later.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.